Fellas, are you looking for ways to strengthen your bond, your love, your relationship with your wife? If so, look no further. I've got you covered today. We're going to be talking about 3 things that every husband should do for their wives. 3 things that every husband should do for their wives. Hey, ladies, I'm not leaving you out. Send this to your man, right? Send it to your man. So what's up, fam? It's Dr. Dale. This is Permission to Be Great, the podcast where I try to help you walk in your greatness on a daily basis, right? So I'm super excited about this episode. I will tell you, I was a little bit reluctant to do this one. I was a bit reluctant because I don't like talking about my personal life too much publicly and especially around marriage. But then I had to weigh it. I had to say, okay, what's the real reason you don't want to talk about this? I don't have too many reasons not to share this. Versus the other side, I know there are a lot of men watching who want to strengthen their relationships with their wives, right? I know there are a lot of men who are dating, who want to enter marriage the right way. So I know there are a lot of people that are going to benefit from hearing these 3 things. Okay, so I'm going to share them with you. That means more to share these with you than me keeping them for no reason. Okay, let's dive in. So 3 things that every husband should do for their wives. The first one, I'll tell you what it is here in a second, but let me tell you how I came to this first one. It's also my testimony, my faith testimony story, essentially. So my wife and I were both medical doctors, and we're both in our training. During intern year, got pregnant. So my wife's pregnant, then have to have a baby. So we needed a nanny. We're in the hospital all the time. We're both residents, right? When my oldest child was actually born, we're both second years. We just first week of second year of residency. So we're in the hospital all the time. So we needed somebody to be home with our baby, to look out for our baby. So we hired a nanny. So this nanny, we hired her, but her husband was always at the house. I'm like, why is this guy always in my house? I come home from work, he's in the house, no matter what time of day. I'm like, dude's always in my house. And, I kind of blew it off. I said, hey, the guy's just here because looking out for his wife, trying to make sure I don't come home. A stranger, he doesn't know me very well. That's cool. I understand it. But then he'd always be picking at me. He'd always be throwing stuff out the Bible at me. Like, did you know this happened in the Bible? Did you know about this? What do you think about this? And he'd always do that stuff. And I'm kind of thinking, man, this guy's got problems. And then he knew I was a doctor and I was interested in science. So he would start throwing science angles on it, right, around creation and things of that sort. And I was like, man, let me go look that up. Let me go read the Bible. Let me go check these other sources. And I started getting interested and intrigued reading the Bible. He started doing Bible studies with me. And next thing you know, I was fully sold out for Jesus, right? On fire. I gone through a full thorough evaluation. I started reading about other religions, just gone through so much stuff just to make sure that I believed I was coming to the right conclusion. And that happened in my life, but it did not happen in my wife's life at the same time. So we were on 2 different paths because we've been together for, I don't know how many years. At this point in time, we've been together for 20 plus years, over 20 years, right? And for the first part of our relationship, we lived a certain way, just very just kind of go with the flow worldly, not too much thought about faith at all, right? Not too much thought about it at all, just kind of living our lives like anybody else would. I'm not criticizing anybody, but that's just how we were living our lives. So then I got to this point where faith became very important to me, and I started living my life a certain specific way. And I will tell you, like, before this, it's not like I'm legalist or anything like that. What I mean by that is, before this, I had idols, and I probably still do that. I try to fight off, but I had idols. Like, I wanted to be the best doctor in the world. I wanted to be the best at everything. I was so kind of gung ho about stuff. Interesting, because it's not that I was type A, but I was just very like, hey, I got to be the best. I'm going to be the world's best doctor, that type of stuff, right? And I remember one day, his name was Darius. Darius said, you know what? All that knowledge you have for your patients means nothing if you don't know the Bible, right? And that really got me thinking. That set me on a path. But so I got to this place spiritually where my wife wasn't at yet, and that caused a lot of turmoil in our relationship. It just did. And I remember the kind of a huge point for me. We went back to visit her parents, St. Louis area. We're driving on the highway, and my wife said something to the effect of, you know what? You're not the same person I married. I'm not sure about this. And that was hard. That hit me really hard. I remember, I'm a man, hey, but I remember pulling off to the side of the road and just crying, because it was tough to hear that the person you'd been with for so long, the person you married, the person you love with all your heart, saying, "You're not who I married," and I wasn't. I wasn't who she married, right? And that hit me hard. So I went to Darius to seek counseling and guidance, in terms of how do you deal with that. And I remember he told me, he said, dude, you've got to pray for your wife. And that's number one. First thing that every husband should do for their wives, pray for your wife. He said, Dale, you've got to pray for your wife, right? It's not just about prayer. It's about being a spiritual leader in the household. The word husband, we talk about what every husband should do. The word husband means steward. The word husband is, it means the manager of, to take care of. So you can you're a steward of a garden, right? A husband of a garden, husbandry, right? It means to care for, to manage over. So it's not just praying for her, but it's spiritually helping to guide her at the same time. And I was in a place that she hadn't been. And I began to listen to him. He said, Dale, it's not just about prayer. You're starting to read the Bible a lot more. Do your Bible studies at the table where she can see you. Don't just go off in your room. Do it where she can see you. She'll be curious. What are you doing? Et cetera, et cetera. So I started praying for my wife. I started doing Bible studies. And the story as to how she came fully into it's a story for a different day. But long story short, my wife catches fire for Christ. And then now we're more on even ground, the way we see the world, the way we approach the world. From that point, I've always known I've got to pray for my wife. So I'll tell you, practical step you can do. First thing I do when I get to work every day. It's two things I do, right? First thing I do when I get to work every day. First thing is I get down on my knees. I pray for my wife. I pray in general, but there's specific prayer in there for my wife. That's important. That's important because I know even as her husband, there's certain things I want to give her, but I understand I can't give her the things that God can give her. I can give her some things to get her happy and such, but her joy will come from God. Her joy will come from God. So I go to the one that can provide it, and I pray on her behalf. And that's very, very important. It's a part of my norm now. Every husband should pray for their wife. Right. Every husband should pray for their wife. Second thing I do every day is I do push-ups. Right. I hit the ground, do push-ups to get my day going. Right. Okay. That's number one. Pray for your wife. Number two, have lunch dates during the workday with your wife. Lunch dates during the workday with your wife. I began to notice my wife, as I said, she's a medical doctor. Her days are busy. She gets tired. She's seeing patients throughout the day. She comes home. She's got more to do, right, with our kiddos. Got to help take care of our kiddos. We got sports, school stuff, all sorts of stuff going on, right? She does above and beyond what she's required to do. It's fatiguing. It's draining. It's tiring. So I try to think, hey, what are things I could do for her just to give her more energy, help reinvigorate her, right? So every now and then I just start going on a lunch date with her. I call her up, say, hey, babe, I'm around the corner. I'm going to come get you. We're going to have a quick lunch date. And I'll get that private time with her where it's just the two of us. I love my kids with all my heart, but having that private time with just my wife is so critical, so important. I get to talk to her on a different wavelength, right? It's not just sitting down and eating and talking, but we try to get heart to heart on this sometimes, right? So communicating with your wife is a whole different episode. We can talk about that, but we try to get heart to heart. So essentially, it gets to, hey, what's on your mind? What have you been struggling with? What can I pray for you about? Right? These things that otherwise in the rustle and bustle of life, I might not take the time to sit down and actually engage with her about. And what I started to notice was I would do that, and she'd be so much more energized. She'd be so much happier, and she'd be happy when we're eating lunch. She'd be happy that evening. She'd be happy the next day still, right? It just seemed to give life back into her, these unexpected dates. And sometimes she doesn't even know I'm coming. I just show up and call her and say, hey, babe, I'm downstairs. Unfortunately, we work close together, so it's nothing for me to take a quick lunch break because she works right around the corner from me. I understand everybody's not in that situation, but if you're in the situation, these are things to think about, right? And some people say, well, my wife doesn't work. That's okay. Come meet her at the house, right? Come meet her at the house. Have lunch at the home with her. It's just the intent of her knowing that you thought enough about her to leave your work, because so many men are so engulfed and so stuck on work. And I'm not gonna lie, I can be like that myself. But for your wife to know that you left that behind to come be with her, even if it's just for a few minutes, that means a lot. And I could see how that would give my wife energy, get her excited, right? And it meant a lot to her. So I do it. I do it. And I believe every husband should do it. Take the time out to give extra time. That's bonus time. Give that back to your wife, right? So the third thing that every man should do for their wife, every husband should do for their wife, I'm going to say this in two ways, right? I'll say it first this way, is work for your wife. Work for your wife. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So, I'm a doctor, of course. So the first and foremost, I work for God, period. First and foremost, I'm working for God, right? I'm a doctor. I have patients. So I'm here to serve my patients. So I have their interest in mind, right? I'm serving my patients. If I'm in the middle of a procedure, my wife calls, she understands that I'm not just going to answer the phone because I'm serving my patients. My focus is there on the patient. Now, of course, we have certain rules. If she calls X amount of times, I understand that it's serious. And I need to tell my team, hey, I need to pause real quick because I might have a personal emergency, right? We have those in place, but she understands I'm there serving my patients, right? But overall, when you talk about working and earning money, I do that for my wife. I do that for my wife. So I've never cared about money myself, and I still don't care about money myself. Right? I'm not into things. I don't buy fancy things. You know, my oldest son's buying all these shoes and stuff like that. I'm like, what do you need these for? I had one pair of shoes per school year growing up. I don't understand why you need all stuff. So I just never cared about stuff. Okay. And my wife really doesn't care about stuff either. So when I talk about earning money, it's not earning money so we can go buy stuff. If she wants something, we'll get it, whatever. But it's not earning money just so we can buy stuff. It's earning money to give her a sense of freedom, right? It's earning money to let her know that, hey, if you ever decide you don't want to work, you don't have to work. It's earning money to let her know that she is quote unquote secure. And I say quote unquote secure because I believe security only comes from God, right? You can have all the money in the world and get sick. Money's not going to always be able to bail you out of that, okay? Right? To feel quote unquote secure. And that's what I work for. I believe every husband should work for that. So what does that really mean? That means you're working for your wife's best interest. You're working for your wife's, in my case, personal growth and her dreams, because I know there's certain things that my wife wants to do at one point in her life, things that we discussed. And I want to be able to fund that, right? I want her to be able to have the time to go do that whenever she's ready to do it. I want to be able to walk away and say, hey, I'm done whenever she's ready to be done. Now, we both love medicine, so I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But if she does come to me and say, you know what, babe, I think I need to take a break from this. Okay, are you sure? All right, go ahead, right? That's what I work for. That's what I work for. So, you know, I'm a doctor. Of course, I do okay financially from the doctor money, but it's not even that. It's more so about setting up systems and infrastructure. So when I'm sleeping, money's coming in, right? Other things are still coming in. It's more like that. Setting up the extra to know that, hey, if anything ever happens, this extra's got us covered still, so my wife can go off and do what she wants to do. And that's something, that's different lessons. I'll teach on that stuff. We'll have more episodes around those things. But those are things that are very important that I believe that men and women should be paying attention to, should be learning, should be focused on the side, right? You want to focus on your job. You want to be the best. So when I'm there taking care of my patients, my goal is to be the best possible for my patients, right? My 9 to 5, I'm the best for my patients. My 5 to 9, I'm doing things that go beyond that, right? So you gotta have a 9 to 5, you gotta have a 5 to 9. My 5 to 9, I'm doing for my wife. And I'm doing it for my wife indirectly, I'm doing it for my children as well, right? That's what my 5 to 9 is about, right? Very, very important. You know, and kind of a bonus that goes along with all this, something that every husband should do for their wife, is parent their child, parent your children, right? You want to set yourself up in a way where you can parent them. When I say parent them, the reason this ties in here is because you need to have quote unquote work-life balance. You have that work-life balance so you can be there for your children, right? You want to be there for your children. You want to be at your children's activities. You don't want to be a slave to a job. Notice I didn't say work. I'll explain the difference between work and a job. Let me go and tell you right now, right? Work is something that I believe is God-given, what you're called to do while you're here on this earth. That is your work. A job is something you go to in exchange for money. Work goes beyond money. Work is about a purpose. Job is about survival. I'll say it again. Your work is about a purpose in life. You're called to do something in life. That's what your work is. Your job is, hey, pay me some money so I can pay the bills. A job is an exchange. A work is a calling, right? So you don't want to just go to a job on a day-to-day basis, slave and having to work more hours, so you can try to provide for your family, but never be there for your family, right? That's why personal development, that's why I make these episodes. I make these episodes for you all's personal growth, personal development, so you can have that freedom, not even financially, but just personal, like just your growth. So you have options in life. You want to have options in life, right? And those options will allow you to do a lot of things like be there for your children, be there for your wife. So that's key. All right, let's recap 3 things that every husband should do for their wives. Number 1, pray for your wife. Pray for your wife. You want to be a spiritual leader in your household. You want to pray for your wife. You want to know what she needs. You want to be able to petition to God on her behalf. Number 2, have lunch dates with your wife, right? Brighten up her day. Reinvigorate her, give her that energy that she needs. Spend that time one-on-one communicating, getting talks heart to heart. And number 3, work for your wife, meaning earn enough money to give her the freedom to do the things that she wants to do, to chase her dreams for her personal growth. Her personal growth. All right, very important, very important. Let me tell you one last story that just came to mind, then we'll hop off right here. So I, some years back, my wife and I, we don't really argue. We're very frank with each other and just can't. If you were coming to our house, you'd be like, "Why are you guys arguing?" But I don't know what you call it, but we're perfectly fine with it. We're not mad at each other. So we have these little things, and it was at a point where I was trying to spend like our free time and money and stuff on things that were going to generate us more money on the side, right? So that's what I was trying to do. And sometimes she'd have something in mind and be like, "But babe, that's not going to make us any more money," right? And then it got to the point where she just said this to me, and it kind of stuck with me. She was like, "Dale, you realize essentially what you're saying is the money you want to generate is more important than the dreams that I have." Oh man, that got me. Oh man, that got me. Right. I was so stuck on this idea of doing things to generate money and not focus on the fact that there were things that she wanted that weren't generating money, but they were importance to her. And I can't place a financial value on that. Right. I cannot place a financial value. It's too valuable to put a number on. And when she said that changed my mind for him to say, okay, yeah, I need to earn money, I need to work. I need to understand that her dreams are more important. Right, her growth, the things that she wants that don't have a dollar sign on them are more important. I need to pay attention to that. 3 things every husband should do for their wives: pray for your wife, have dates with your wife, work for your wife so she can achieve her dreams. Hey, all right, guys, here's what's gonna happen right now. Number 1, I want you guys to hit the subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button. Support your boy, all right? So it's around the video somewhere. Click on the subscribe button. And number 2, YouTube knows what you like. So YouTube's gonna show you some videos right around here because they know you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna be able to grow from it. Click on that video. Keep growing. Keep getting better. You have permission to be great. I love you guys.